Hi everyone, it's Trishna. So in this video, I want to focus our healing efforts around the feeling of shame. I know there are some people who seem to carry shame around with them for years and years and years, and for whatever reason aren't really able to shake it off. Now, I've heard different theories around where this shame comes from. A common explanation I've heard is that it tends to come from organized religion, where there is this God that judges us, and basically if we do something that steps out of line, or if we make a mistake even on accident, or if we have a negative thought of some sort, that we have now made a mistake. We have now done something worth being judged for, and we should be ashamed of ourselves. And I think some of that could be true, but I think there are also a lot of us who did not grow up in a strongly religious household, or really weren't taught a lot of the more organized religious ways of doing things or believing or seeing the world. Like, we weren't brought up in those kinds of constructs or perceptions. But some of us, even though we weren't brought up that way, we still sometimes can carry around a lot of shame that lingers with us and that we carry with us for years and years and years going forward. So I think there is something deeper at play, something that affects us all, no matter what kind of upbringing you may have had. So I think the way to first work with this is to understand the shame itself. What really is it? Is it truly shame and our own shame that we are feeling? Or is it maybe something else that we're actually feeling, that we're identifying as shame? Or is it somebody else's shame that we are somehow taking on? We are all very unique individuals, and we are all equally worthy. But we grow up in this world where we are taught that it's better to be cookie cutter. It's better to fit within the herd. If you follow certain rules, if you act certain ways, you will be loved. And if you step outside of that, you will be mocked or ridiculed or judged, or shame will be put on you, or you will bring shame upon others for expressing yourself in your truest form versus the little box that they want to put us all in. So shame is often a tool that is used to keep us in line, and it's usually an external force that we take on as our own as a result. And so that's why I think it's important to identify your shame, look at your shame, and try to figure out, is it truly shame? Or is it something else? Is it embarrassment? Are we truly ashamed of something that we have done? Or maybe if we did do something shameworthy, but it was 10 years ago, are we still ashamed of ourselves now? Like, are we still supposed to hold on to that right now? Or is that shame really simply embarrassment? That if somebody else were to find out, then we would feel embarrassed, and then we would experience shame. So is the shame what you feel right now? Or is it really embarrassment and the fear of feeling shame in the future if somebody else would find out? And so in anticipating the shame we would feel if somebody found out, we are not actually feeling that shame necessarily, because it's not here right now. We are feeling somebody else's shame that we believe they would place on us should they find out whatever it is that we feel shame for. And so I think the first step in healing that shame is to try to figure out what is causing you those feelings. What is causing you to either feel ashamed right now, or to anticipate shame that you could feel in the future? Or what are you embarrassed to share with the world? And I want you to look at that and decide truly and honestly if you actually should be embarrassed by that, or if you actually should feel shame for that. Or do you just think, or do you just feel that embarrassment or that shame because we've been taught to be a certain way? So is that shame really something truly worth being ashamed about? Or is it just you expressing yourself, and it just happens to be different, and there's not anything truly wrong with what you have done or what you think you would like to do? And also try to figure out where that shame comes from. So not just what it is, but if you're just like, hey, yeah, like, this isn't necessarily right or wrong, but I feel like it's wrong. Where did that belief come from? Was there something that you were taught through childhood? Was there some experience that you had maybe at school with friends or with a teacher, and they put you down for something, but really it was innocent and not anything to truly be ashamed of? Where does that belief come from? Because once you identify where that belief comes from, it will be easier to let it go, because you will realize that it is not your shame that you're carrying around with you. It's somebody else's version of what is shameful that you are carrying around with you. It is not your true essence. It is not your true expression. So once you identify where that comes from, you can let it go. You can separate it from yourself and release yourself of those shameful emotions. And I think the other thing that is really important here is to figure out when you identify what that shame is, how far back does it go? Was it something that, if you actually did something wrong, was it something that you did in your childhood? And if you're an adult now, should you really be carrying that with you? And if you haven't already seen my healing video on how to stop caring what other people think, I recommend that you watch that video, because again, a lot of the shame is shame that we're carrying around that isn't ours. It's somebody else's thoughts that we think they're gonna think, or that we know they're gonna think about us if they knew the true us. And so we're placing more emphasis on what somebody else thinks or will think than we are on what we think and who we are. And in order to help release the shame, you have to also release caring what other people think. So if you haven't seen that healing video, I highly recommend that you watch that to help release the fear of what other people will think, and release putting other people's thoughts and views and opinions on a higher pedestal than your own. And I think it's also really important that we understand that we are going to make mistakes. We've made mistakes, we've learned from them, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn from them. We are never going to be perfectly doing what we're exactly supposed to do, perfectly thinking what we're supposed to think, always being like right on our path or just right on our purpose, or exactly where we're supposed to be on our journey. We're always going to be stepping a little this way and stepping a little that way. And really the only key to life is understanding how to get back on the path, understanding how to find that balance within yourself again, and that's it. Because life is all about getting on and off the path, on and off the path, swaying from one end of the polarity spectrum to the other end. Not drastically, but always kind of moving around a path forward, but never always directly on it, and that's okay, because in those steps off the path, that is where a lot of growth happens. That's where a lot of the learning and the hard lessons happen. When we bring ourselves back to the path, that is when we truly grow as a soul, because we have embodied the lessons and we're back moving forward. So it's just really important to know that that is just how it goes. No journey is a perfect straight line. Everything is a bit of a zigzag, and that's just how it's supposed to be, because life would be really boring if every step fell sequentially and if we didn't have sidetracks where we could grow and learn and experience things and learn something new that's off of our path. Like, we came here to learn, we came here to grow, and we came here to have an experience, and you can't have that if you're just walking a straight line the whole time. So I hope this gets you started on releasing a lot of the feelings of shame that you may be holding on to. If you feel comfortable and would like to, please share where you think your shame come from, how far back, or maybe some details around the incident, or some generalities around the incident, because then I can do healing videos on more specifics that will help you release even more a lot of the emotional trauma that we sometimes carry, or the emotional hurt, or some of the negative thoughts that are in our subconscious that are programmed very deeply. So if you feel comfortable doing that, put that in the comments and I will try to do a healing video on that. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope I earned your like and your subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.